What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Neighborhood Podcast. I'm one of the hosts of the podcast. My name is Kyle Dabro. So in this video, we're going to go over the Sunday night matchup that took place between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs from last night. So the Bills beat the Chiefs by the score of 38-20. With the win, the Bills improved to 4-1 on the season, and with the loss, the Chiefs fall back to 2-3 on the season. I want to start with the Bills since they looked phenomenal against the Chiefs last night. One of the ironic things that I took away from last night's game was that I thought the Bills beat the Chiefs at their own game last night. The Chiefs have feasted on the league for the last few years, with Patrick Mahomes connecting on these big chunk plays to either Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, or Demarcus Robinson on these pass plays that go 20, 30, even 40 yards plus down the field. And those plays have left its mark on the league since they've had major success from those types of plays. And with how the game played itself out last night, Josh Allen was able to expose KC's defense with those huge chunk plays that are very similar in nature to what Mahomes has been doing for years. Josh Allen had a phenomenal game last night. He threw for over 300 yards in the game. But one of the interesting stats that I took away from was that he only completed 15 of his 26 passes. That means his average completion was going over 20 yards per completion, and KC's defense had no answer for it whatsoever. And it started early on in the game. The Bills were up early, and they were able to extend their lead when Josh Allen was able to hit on a 40-yard dart to Emmanuel Sanders for a touchdown. And it continued on in the first half as well, because Dawson Knox, one of their tight ends, was one of their main weapons last night on the deep ball. Dawson Knox only had 3 catches in the game, but he had 117 yards receiving. That's over 35 yards per reception. And not only that, he added a receiving touchdown as well. So he had a great game, in my opinion. And the Bills' offense as a whole, they were firing on all cylinders the entire night. And it's like I said, Casey's defense had no answer for it. When I look at the Bills defensively to kind of flip it to them, I thought they played extremely well against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense. Granted, they only sacked Mahomes twice, but they brought constant pressure against him the entire night, and they were able to force some turnovers. They were able to force 4 turnovers from Kansas City last night, and one of those turnovers was a pick 6 that put them up 3 possessions early on in the second half. The Bills' defense never allowed the Chiefs to get any sort of consistent momentum offensively, and it was in large part due to what their defensive scheme was. They played 2 deep safeties the entire game, and it made it impossible for the Chiefs to beat them deep down the field. Combine that with the pressure that they made Mahomes look uncomfortable throwing the ball the entire night. So you got to give credit to Sean McDermott and the coaching staff for the game plan that they were able to devise against Kansas City, and to the players for executing it extremely well. When I look at the Bills overall, they look like to me that they are the best team in the AFC at this current moment, and this team can legitimately compete for a Super Bowl this year because they're one of the most well-rounded units in the league. The offense is cooking right now. The defense has been just as good. And defensively, to kind of add to that point, they've had 15 turnovers in just 5 games. When the defense is averaging 3 takeaways a game, this team is going to be tough to beat. It's an impressive win for Buffalo. They get revenge for Kansas City from the loss that they took in the AFC Championship game last year. And it's like I said, this team can legitimately compete for a Super Bowl if they continue to play like this. They're sitting at 4-1. They're at the top of the AFC. And it's like I said, this is going to be a very difficult team to beat. So great win for Buffalo. And then to kick it towards Kansas City, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have legitimate concern for this team. Through 5 games, the Chiefs have looked great at times, and then they've looked horrendous at times. And this is one of those games where they looked absolutely horrendous. Offensively, this team is predictable as far as their scheme is concerned, and that is the main complaint that I have about Andy Reid's offensive system. The Chiefs are great at making big chunk plays when Mahomes is really on his game, but when they aren't making those types of plays, this offense sputters as a result. And despite how great I think Mahomes is, he has had a shaky start to the season. Despite the fact that he leads the league with 16 passing touchdowns, he has 6 interceptions in 5 games, which already ties what he had with interceptions from last season. The offense as a whole, they rely heavily on Mahomes to make plays, but when he struggles, their offense is severely one-dimensional since they don't have a consistent rushing attack. And that's what we saw against the Bills last night. The Chiefs never got into a rhythm. They had 4 turnovers, and they never made adjustments to what Buffalo presented them defensively. They should have attacked the middle of the field in front of Buffalo's 2 deep safeties, but they never made a consistent effort towards making that happen. And as bad as the Chiefs' offense was, it was not as bad as their defense. I've got to be brutally honest with this point. The Chiefs' defense is arguably the worst defensive unit in the league. They've given up 30 points or more 4 out of the 5 games that they played so far. And the one game that they didn't give up 30, they allowed 29 points to the Cleveland Browns. It's a recipe for disaster, despite how good the offense can be with Patrick Mahomes. They're at the bottom of the league in forcing turnovers. Their secondary is easy to attack, and they can't sustain a consistent pass rush whatsoever. And until they can correct these holes in the defense, the Chiefs will continue to struggle as a whole. They're last place in the AFC at 2-3, but with the way that they played so far this season, the results show. Losing to the Bills by 3 possessions was bad, but one of the takeaways from this game was how bad they took it in the teeth with their injuries. Clyde Edwards-Helaire left with a knee injury. Tyreek Hill has a knee injury. Joe Thuney left the game with a broken hand. And Travis Kelce got absolutely destroyed when he got popped on a hit by the end of the game. So there's legitimate concern with Kansas City at this point, and they've got to rally the troops quick because this game definitely left a mark on them. Granted, we're only 5 games in, but they're sitting at last place in the AFC. Not in the AFC, in the AFC West. So I'm kind of surprised at how inconsistent that this team has been, but I don't think all is lost with Kansas City at this point. We're still in the early stages of October, but they need to correct the offensive issues that they've been having as far as being predictable goes. And defensively, they've got to hold a team to under 30 points. Hell, they got to hold a team to under 20 points. So until they can correct those issues, this team is going to continue to struggle. But it's like I said, Buffalo is on their A game right now, and they look like they're one of the best teams in the league. So you got to give a lot of credit to what Buffalo's been able to put on the field so far this year. And I think it's going to continue by and large for Buffalo moving forward. This team can legitimately compete for a Super Bowl, and they are not a team that really any sort of team wants to face at this point in time. But with that said, you guys, that'll wrap it up from here. If you guys liked the video, hit that like button below. If you guys want to support the channel in any way, shape, or form, hit that subscribe button below. Any sort of support that we can give for the channel, Kevin and I definitely appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in to watch the video once again, and we will see you guys later.